Sathyabama Institute of Science and Technology.
Good morning all. So I'm Sharmila, working as an assistant professor in College of Physiotherapy, Sathyabama Institute of Science and Technology, deemed to be university. So today I'm going to take a class on the topic called as coordination. Moving on with the objectives. So the objectives for today's presentation is going to be to understand what is coordination and how the nervous system plays a role in coordination. And the next objective is to understand what is in coordination, what are the causes for incoordination. And the third objective is going to be what are the exercises which we can teach to the subjects who are having incoordination problem. So moving on with the definition. So what is coordination? So coordination is considered to be as a smooth, purposeful and an accurate movement. Okay, so this is going to be done by the integration of a muscle. Okay, so when you do any movement for a coordination, it should be a smooth movement, it should be a accurate movement, it should be a purposeful movement by integration of the muscle. When the muscles are failing to do the integration, then coordination is not going to be taking place in that. That is what in general terms we call it as a incoordination. So what are the muscle groups which are responsible for coordination? Okay, so majorly we have 4 groups of muscles which are going to be supporting for this coordination function. So in this, the first group of the muscles are called as your agonist. Okay, so what is an agonist? You do any activity, the muscle which is going to be contracting for that particular function is what we call it as an agonist. Okay. And the second group of muscle that is going to be contributing is going to be your antagonist. Okay, so what is antagonist? Okay, the opposite group of the muscle. If one group of the muscles are going to be contracting, the muscle group which is going to be present on the opposite side will be going for the lengthening process. And the next is called as your synergist. So what is synergist? Synergist are the supporting muscles. Okay, so they are going to be working along with the agonist, okay, to complete the function. Okay, so that those muscles is what we call it as your synergist. Mean to say the secondary group of a muscle. The primary muscles we call it as an agonist. The secondary group of the muscles you can call it as an synergist. And the last is going to be the fixator. So what is a fixator? Stabilizing muscle. That is what we call it as a fixator. When one group is contracting, the other group is going to go for a lengthening. So in this process, there are some muscles which are responsible for stabilizing that particular joint. That is what we call it as a fixator. So it's very, very important for all these 4 group of muscles to work in a coordinated manner. Then only the movement or a function can be executed in a better way. If any one group of muscle is going to fail for the function, say the agonist is not contracting, or the antagonist is not going to go for the lengthening process, or say the synergist, the secondary group of muscle, supporting muscle is not aiding for the function, or the muscle which has to stabilize, which we call it as a fixator, is not going to be working in a proper manner, then the movement cannot be a smooth movement, it cannot be a purposeful movement, it cannot be an accurate movement. So when there is going to be a problem in any group of muscles, it can land up in a incoordination. So next we are going to see what is the role of the nervous system, how the nervous system is going to get coordinated with the muscular system and how the movement is going to be taking place. Mean to say how the coordination is going to be taking place. That is what we are going to discuss in detail now. So when I say a nervous control, the first thing that comes is called as your motor pathway. So what is this motor pathway? Motor pathway is nothing but a brain is going to think of a movement, right? So when a brain is thinking of a movement, the impulses are supposed to travel from the brain to the spinal cord, and from the spinal cord, the impulses are supposed to reach to the muscle. Okay, so that activity is going to be done by the motor pathway. Okay, any movement for that case, we think of it, and then the signals has to pass on. It has to reach on to the muscle, then only the activity can be proper. So that is going to be the activity of your motor pathway. The second one is we call it as your cerebral cortex. Okay, so what is the role of the cerebral cortex? Okay, so in the previous thing when I was talking about the motor pathway, I told you thinking of the movement and the impulse passage is important. Now okay, we thought of a movement. Okay, how I'm going to initiate the movement, that is very, very important. So that initiation of the movement is going to be done by the cerebral cortex. Okay, initiation and planning, both the activity is going to be controlled by the cerebral cortex. Okay. Next is called as your cerebellum. So what is the role of the cerebellum? Initially, the brain is thinking, it is sending the impulses are reaching the muscle. So once after it reaches the muscle, cerebral cortex plays a role to initiate the movement as well as to plan the movement. Now, once after the initiation and planning is going to be done, in what timing the movement is supposed to start and how much is the contraction that is required by a muscle, okay, the power output of a muscle and the balance, and all these things are going to be controlled by the cerebellum. So cerebellum is very, very important to control the balance and as well as to maintain the timing, as well as for doing the motion. Cerebellum is very, very important. If that is going to miss to a function, again doing that particular movement will be difficult. Next comes your kinesthetic sensation. So what is a kinesthetic sensation? Kinesthetic sensation is called as your joint position sensation. Okay, so previously whatever we discussed in terms of your motor pathway, or say it is going to be your cerebral cortex or your cerebellum, everything we're discussing in terms of the impulse transmission, in terms of planning the movement, in terms of executing the movement, in terms of the muscle power output, and as well as a balance. Now, before you start a movement, you should be aware where is the position of a limb, right? So that is very, very, very important, right? If you're completely unaware where my limb is going to be positioned, then doing that particular task will be difficult. Okay, supposingly to do any activity, how can I do that activity? Can I do it from flexion, or this activity requires a motion of extension? So where is my limb exactly placed? Okay, is this position is ideal to do the activity what I'm thinking, or should I change the position? Only if I change the position, I'll be able to implement the activity, right? So all these things are going to be controlled by your kinesthetic sensation. So on the whole, a very, very important thing is this motor pathway, cerebral cortex, cerebellum, as well as the kinesthetic sensation. All the four things should work together, then only we can have the proper coordinated movement taking place in a muscle. So when we speak in terms of coordination, it is not a nervous system alone. It is a neuromuscular system which is going to play a key role. Mean to say, the coordination of the nerves to the muscle and the muscle executing the function is very, very important. So neuromuscular control should be proper in order to do the movement in a proper coordinated way. So with this, the part 1 of coordination will be over. Okay, so we will continue with incoordination in part 2.